Lay back, everybody. Hello. You felt the suspense and anticipation at the end there. A little extension of the outro
yeah,
on the theme song.
I looked at you like, what?
Well, yes, no, we keep the energy and anticipation up here at Black Hammer. I saw people for being a little late. You know why? It's because we wanted to make sure the dinner that we were eating in front of y'all was extra delicious. So, we had to, sacrifice a little time to make sure that this was really good. But yes, keep on coming in the room. Welcome everybody. Land back QC. Land back Mountains are H word. Land back Chi. Ooh, QC wants to, what's going on? Okay. Well, what we got today is we have a cucumber salad, with some red onion and carrot with some rice wine vinaigrette. Yes, and a little soy sauce, a little, to make that a little bit good. And then we got bows, y'all. Yes, we have some homemade bows. We got some homemade Mongolian beef bows, some homemade bao steamed bread and buns, along with a tofu egg Mongolian beef. Mongolian egg tofu scramble, something like that for the vegetarians up in here. So that's what I got. And to top it off, we have this gochujang mayo topping that if you would like some, it is right here. Ooh, yeah, they all want it.
I didn't even know that you made this. So.
Oh yeah, taste it first maybe if you don't know.
It's really good.
Oh, it's really good. G said trust the process. And that's what we do at Black Hammer as revolutionaries. We trust processes, right? And for us, the Vanguard is the process of getting the anti-colonial look on the news that we have, all right? Because the news always be telling us something that it doesn't make sense to us and it's fake. But we are here to tell the truth about how it applies to our people. So yes, land back to Ray, land back F. Joe Biden. They said they love a good bow. Yes.
This is my first time having bow, y'all. I'm like,
what?
Yeah, I'm like, I don't even know. I didn't even know that. Outside of the Disney shorts.
The Pixar short?
Yes, the Pixar short. I didn't even know that was a thing. So I'm very excited.
Mm-hmm. It's very much a thing. Oh, land back, Chief Ire, all the way from Abuja. Yeah, here, bro, late. Thank you for struggling, Chief, and being with us.
Yes, salute.
Yeah. It's all of this sounds good, everyone's saying. Sorry, said you temptress. But yeah, we are here, the Chicago chapter of the Black Hammer organization. We can introduce ourselves, so you can, me and Simon G, then we go down.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm back, everybody. I'm Chief G, representing the colonized people of Mexico, and come from the working class with a lot of Peru aspirations. So still committing class suicide every day. And my pronouns are they, them. And I'm the chief of IT.
Yes, they are the chief of IT and our producer today. Yes. And they've eaten beforehand, y'all. They don't worry.
No, they don't feed.
No, we feed them now. We do.
Now we do.
Yes, they deserve it for all the hard work that they put into the revolution the past week. We judge each week whether or not they get their weekly meal. No. I know, I got really tense real quick. My name is Chief Oju, representing the nations of Africa and Borican, otherwise known as Puerto Rico. I come from the working class with some petty contradictions, and I use he, him pronouns. I'm the chief of agitation and propaganda, bringing you this PE, this political education, this social media, all that. All right, land back.
Land back, everyone. I am Ren. I represent the nations of Panama and Colombia. And yes, I have a petty background and I'm in the process of committing class suicide every day. And I use they, them pronouns. And I'm also the Minister of People's Affairs, making sure that everybody is up to date and following Rona protocols. And, also in the process of getting gardens started for this coming spring. I don't know when spring is going to come here because it's been snowing a lot. But yeah, and then also making sure that we are making sure that people are trained up on how to stay safe during the natural events and everything. So, and also having the chief of IT, all right, and IT making sure that our website looks good and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm back, y'all.
Land back, y'all. My name is Watakame. I represent the Coca Noirarica people of colonized Mexico, as well as the poor working class people of the world. I use they, them pronouns, and I am the chief of staff for the Ministry of People's Affairs. So you know that dream team making things run all around the world, right? Making sure our people stay prepared, stay aware, ready, and safe. So yeah, land back.
And back, yeah, no, we use our skills and the positions we have here in the Chicago chapter, for the people of Chicago, but also for the people of the world, right? These are international offices that are covering the world, making sure that our people are safe, in Nigeria, like Chief Ida, making sure that they're safe from not just Rona, but from other things as well.
Malaria.
Making sure that malaria, making sure people are safe in LA from weather events, whether it's fires or high winds, now. So all of that is what we do for our people. And so make sure you are liking, sharing, and subscribing. All right, y'all. We want to make sure that you are keeping up with the revolution. Like this video, share it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, your DMs. And subscribe to our channel, youtube.com/BlackHammerTV. If you a hammer and you ain't subscribed to the YouTube channel, I would need you to do that right now. You just click the subscribe button. It's right there. And then you get notifications on when the video comes on or when it's going to come on, all right? And yeah, put down #shared when you share this video, all right? I want to see how many people shared and how many times you shared. So #shared in the comments. But in the meantime, people what can they do next? And 1, 2, 3, donate. Oh man. Well, we almost had it, right? But that's because there's so many things we do. We didn't know everything that but there's so many things we can list that can do. And we have to support those things, right? We do so many things and we have to support them with resources. So donate to our Cash App, Black Hammer Shy. Help us keep people warm this winter. It just snowed a good chunk the past couple of days and it's still gonna snow more later this week. So it's getting cold and snow. It's been cold. It's very cold, but it's getting snowy out there now. On top of that, and so help keep our people warm. We do hand warmers, sleeping bags, blankets, wool socks, things that our people need in order to keep warm in the winter. And so donate to our Cash App, Black Hammer Shy, or our Venmo, Shy Hammers. All right. And how much can they donate to our chapter?
I would say at least 15,
Okay.
y'all. I'm going to say go big or go
Yeah,
home,
okay, go big, all right.
Because, those sleeping bags are at least $15, and also the hand warmers. We need more hand warmers, y'all. Like we personally have been using them like as well, but also distributing them. We distributed our last ones this past Sunday, so we need more hand warmers to distribute to the people, and make sure that they're also staying warm, right? Especially with even us, like our hands get red, or at least mine get red from the cold, y'all. So we have to make sure that like the people aren't also experiencing those type of things, and we're also educating them on like where to put them, right? Like yes, your hands are important, but also your feet, right? And like that's like the minimum that we can do. So the more you donate, the more we can make sure we're serving the masses.
We'll also be getting some L train tickets,
Yeah.
so people can find shelter, right? Because we know that these shelters are not providing any sort of refuge for our people if they're not jabbed, especially.
Yeah.
But like spaces are so limited, so our people, go to the train stations or the buses to not even to stay warm, but to stay alive.
Yeah.
And we provide them with tickets and fares and stuff like that. So in order to be able to keep doing that, we do need y'all to donate. And anything counts, but the more the better.
Yeah. If you can't do 15 for Shy, you could at least do 5 for Shy. All right. So if you can't do 15, do 5, and just so you can support us in getting these materials to our people. And just like as Joe Biden said, that Midwestern cold hits different. It does, and it's about it's gonna be a low of 0 today. It's gonna be a low 0 tomorrow, and then a low -6 the next day. But that's just the temperature. With the winds and stuff, it's going to be a wind chill probably around -20 very likely. So make sure. Oh, Thai Senegal got 5 for Shy. Hey, we appreciate that. Yeah, keep those donations coming, y'all. Put them up in there. But in the meantime, we're gonna get into our topic. So I want to try my bow. I've been seeing it here, and it's looking real good. But we're gonna get into our first topic.
Tonight, a new rule will allow 18-year-olds to drive 18-wheelers across state lines. The federal
Oh, hold on one second, y'all. We trying to see what's going on. You know, them technical difficulties be, hitting us sometimes. But don't worry, we got delicious vows to keep us busy in the meantime.
Yes, this is so good, Oju. With the salad, especially like the cucumber salad.
Yeah,
Perfect.
Oju be like, okay, I'm gonna start cooking now, and we never know. We never know what's gonna happen, and I'm always pleasantly surprised.
That's so true.
All right, let's try this time.
Tonight, a new rule will allow 18-year-olds to drive 18-wheelers across state lines. The federal government.
Dang. I could tell people what's going on. So, there is a law that they're like trying to pass. They're trying to pass new regulations, all right, that allow 18-year-olds to drive 18-wheelers across state lines. Because right now, if you are a truck driver, you could only drive within the state, right? So if you are in Illinois, you could drive from Chicago to Peoria, but you can't cross into Iowa or Wisconsin or Indiana. And the reason that they're starting to do this is because there is a truck driver shortage, and it's a shortage of 80,000 truck drivers, right? So 80,000 truck drivers are needed because some are leaving because they're being mandated to take the jab and don't want to. Some are just getting extra hours because of the supply chain crisis, so they're like forcing them to work even more and more and more hours. So they're like done and quitting. They're part of the many millions of people in this country quitting their jobs in general, And so now they're trying to do this apprenticeship program where an 18-year-old can work with a licensed driver for a few months, and then they'll be eligible to drive on their own. And what people are saying is that 18 and 19-year-olds and 18 to 21-year-olds are the highest proportion of just regular car accidents, And so the people are like, should we put them on the road for, half a day, like 10 hours of driving and, put them, at longer distances? And I don't know. All I know is that it seems like child labor to me. I think it's moving toward child labor, y'all. When a place is in crisis, they be putting everybody to work. So that's what this feels like, a move toward that. But GG, what do you think?
Yeah, there's been like a whole like supply chain issue like for the last couple of weeks because of this, right? Because like there's no truck drivers, there's no workers in general, like from the factories all the way to the drivers. So the colony is desperate, right? The colony is like, we gotta pull out the tactics from like, how many years ago was it? Like Industrial Revolution? Like way back when like child labor was like all over the place, but it still is. It's coming back, and it's been coming back. Like I remember one time, like a few months ago, I went to like a Little Caesars. You remember that? Yeah,
I was there.
Went to like a Little Caesars, and all of the employees were kids. Were like 15-year-old kids, and there was like one like adult manager, like a 20-something-year-old, because it's like legally required or something. And then the guy was like, "Oh no, you see like these kids, they're like working overtime, they're like saving up for like to be like financially stable." And I'm like, "This is a 15-year-old kid." And then there comes a white lady, and she's like, "Oh no, yeah, that's so good.
That's
Like,
so great. That's so good for them."
Yeah, and it's like, yo, kids need to be kids, you know what I mean? And when even if they put them like over like something like truck driving, like it's dangerous on its own, like for adults. And now like having kids over it, it's people gonna be dying.
Yeah, and like on top of that too, like the I feel like there's a big chance, especially with phones, right? Like kids, they're always on their phones, right? Can you imagine driving for that like long periods of time, right? Without any breaks, and I feel like most of them are just going to be on their phones, even if they take these trainings, right? Like I've seen and like been in cars where people are on their phones, and I'm like, no, you need to chill with that. Like, don't do that, right? But we have to like really be aware of how the kids, like these kids are like want to stay connected to. The only reason why they're doing this is because they need money,
Need
right?
resources.
Like they need the resources, like their family needs it or whatever, right? Like they also don't really see another option. Like they see, oh, like, you know, there's college or whatever, right? And like, oh, but then they'll put me into hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, right? So it's either that or I could be making big money doing truck driving. So they choose the truck driving because that makes more sense. But yeah, like and you know, obviously I don't blame them for that choice. But it is very dangerous, and it really shows, like Chief G said, like how people, how the crisis of imperialism is definitely deepening, y'all. Like it's looking pretty rough.
Yeah,
So.
you predicted that real good. So in that news clip that we didn't get to see, one of the people they talked to was like an 18-year-old kid who was like, oh, like people told me I should go to college, but then it's too expensive, and so I became a trucker. He's like like an 18-year-old like skater stoner type kid named Chad. I don't know what his name is.
Lance.
And he literally is just like a kid with a beanie. Like he looks like he literally just came from a skate park that just and he's like a kid. He was white, and yeah, they're like, oh yeah, once he gets trained for these few months, he'll be good. 18-year-olds are already driving the trucks. That's how they put it. So why not just put him on the road for even longer? And like Joe Biden said here, being a trucker is super hard on your body.
Yeah.
It's so like
backs and like everything get messed up.
Yeah, and this is just a base of like labor for young people. If you go to Africa, Asia, you have our colonized kids working in sweatshops and working in mines. Yeah, what's a coming? What you think?
1 second.
Yeah. Like I said, these vows be hidden.
They really do. I never really know when it's gonna be my turn, so I just keep eating because it's good. No, line back. Yeah, like I think people are skimming over the child labor part way too easily for me.
Yeah.
Right? And they're like, okay, yeah, but they're 18, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, y'all are, like, your insurance rate doesn't even go down until you're 25. So, because, like, up until you're 25, you're still a high liability or whatever. Like, my car insurance is wild. Right? Like, being under 25, like, they're super cautious of you just driving a regular car on regular streets for a regular amount of time.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like, yeah, stats prove it, right? Like 18 to 19-year-old, like assigned male at birth people are cause the highest amount of car accidents, right? And like y'all laid it out pretty perfectly. Like there's not much. It's just it's messed up. Yeah. It's messed up, and like being also to put kids in isolation like that.
Oh, so true.
Like their brains are developing so much at that age, and like they need social interaction, and they need to be with their peers, and they need stimulus, and they need so many things for their brain to develop into like a well-formed adult, and to put them in a truck for hours to just look at flat roads, to look at the same thing, like it's gonna keep pushing. Like honestly, it's gonna keep hindering the like brain development aside from just the pandemic itself,
exactly.
Right? Or like social media, the internet itself is already having a toll on the way that like younger generations' brains are developing, and to put this like on top of it, right? And people are like acting wild. Like places are hiring 14-year-olds now too. They're just for regular jobs. Like it really is that industrial revolution time again. And like another thing, like the shortage, it's from the mandates, it's from people quitting, but it's also just from people dying. Like when the death count gets so big, every single part of the world is going to see shortages. And that's what they care about, right? They don't even care about the lives lost. They care about the worker shortage. Which is like so counterintuitive, because then it's like, okay, then you can help people stay alive so that you have workers. But again, they want that profit now, right? And they're opportunistic, and like that's what's gonna be their downfall too. So,
No, land back. It's gonna be their downfall because again, as much as they are creating the strife, they're creating revolutionaries in the process, right? That 18-year-old, if you're that 18-year-old who's like, do I take this trucking job or do I join the revolution? Join the revolution, because the revolution will provide you the things that you need in order to be safe and alive, but also it provides you an opportunity to help others get that survival, get that safety, and get that liberation.
Mm-hmm.
And so, don't choose these, jobs that they want out of desperation for you, right? Choose a path for yourself that leads you to your liberation.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, land back. So our next topic is actually similarly related to like the mental toll thing. So yeah.
This is the story for him. I wanted every Black man I know.
He is not working today.
So weird.
You see how they be coming for us?
Yeah, it's coming for our Wi-Fi.
For real, how is our Wi-Fi?
They be coming for us.
This is the story for him. I wanted every Black man I know and love to see themselves.
Goodness. Okay. Well, I'll explain this one. We'll see if we can get the clip put together. But yeah, so Regina King, very famous actress, right? Now has won an Academy Award. She's directing movies now. Her son, her 26-year-old son, who she used to bring everywhere. He was always going to award shows with her. He was always like at her job, and he was 26 years old. He just passed. He committed suicide a few days after his birthday, actually, and this just happened this past week. And and of course, like things like this happen in so many families, right? In so many colonized people's families, and even in celebrities' families, right? But I think they're putting, like this one is hitting more because it just shows that the Regina King saying the whole family's devastated, and that it just it always comes as a surprise, but for them it was very much a surprise, because she was celebrating New Year's with her son on TV, just right before this. So yeah, it's just like it says a lot about what's going on in this pandemic, right? There's so many examples of like people just struggling with their mental health during this pandemic, because of that isolation. Like you talk about Watakami, or because like they're trying to go to school, but they're missing years of social development because they have been doing remote learning. Like a seventh grader someone who started seventh grade in the pandemic is about to become a sophomore in high school without having consistent like contact with people their age. That impacts our minds like a lot. Yep. Imagine skipping from 7th to 10th grade. That's wild. And so it's just like like her son. They haven't said what he was struggling with, but clearly he was struggling. He's 26, and our people deserve the best like mental health care, and deserve a world where they don't have to feel like that they have to leave it in order for it to find a solution. So yeah, land back. Watakami, you want to talk about that first?
Yeah, land back. Unfortunately, this is not a unique story. Like you said, Oju, it does happen in our community all the time. And I think like this is a good example of like how choosing that petty blue life will not save you from the contradictions of the colony, right? Like whether like if you're colonized, and that's all that the colony sees of you. And just being colonized, like you crave more, right? And people will look for that in fame, in wealth, in all of these things. But at the end of the day, that doesn't give us the only thing that will free us from these contradictions, like mental illness, like suicide in our kids, right? Which is liberation, which is having our land back, which is having dictatorship, which is, having that world that we're trying to build. Like that's the only thing that's going to stop our kids like suffering and our own suffering, right? And unfortunately, a lot of people who do commit suicide, like it's not rare for it to be soon after a birthday.
Yeah.
It's because it brings into focus your life, right? Like your birthdays is always like, oh, it's a new year, and if you don't have hope, or if whatever you're struggling with, it's that lack of hope. Yeah. And again, I will never get tired of saying like that is one of the biggest things that we do for the people, right? And that Black Hammer has done for us is like give us hope for a new world, give us hope that we can build something ourselves for ourselves, and like save the world literally. But yeah, no, it is really sad, and like a mother losing her child is never easy. It's never a good thing. But we also have to look at it in the way of like this is getting so much attention because of who she is, because of their family status. When like this happens every single day, all over, and our kids everywhere are constantly dying, and mothers everywhere are constantly mourning and grieving their kids. And like no one knows their names, right? No one knows their stories. No one knows the lives lost, because they're not famous. Because they don't, whatever. Like they don't. It's BS. Like every life is worth the exact same. And so yeah, like to me, this is just a reminder of that as well. Like yes, it's sad, but also. It's being petty boo doesn't save you from this, because you're still colonized. You're just choosing to do it for like to only help yourself instead of working towards helping other people. And like that doesn't get you anywhere. That doesn't save you from anything. But yeah,
exactly. Yeah, like like Regina King, for her command class suicide would mean turning people toward revolution as a solution to prevent what happened to her son happening to other people, right? Yes, exactly. Yeah. Fine.
Yeah. I actually want to talk about one of the comments from two Virgils about all mental and spiritual pain will meet its healer after the revolution, right? And it's not after the revolution necessarily only, right? Like it can be through the revolution. Like I've had depression for a very long time. And it's not easy, right, to choose to get up every day. Like it's not easy to put in work every day, right? But what makes it easier, right, is working for the people. Like knowing that without the work that I put in today, like there's going to be one less homeless person served tomorrow or this weekend, right? Like, and that's really what it is. Like, so even if like for any hammers or anybody watching, right? Like at least one or two of y'all probably have been struggling with this pandemic by chances, right? Like just by numbers, by statistics. And we have to see that as a like colonial contradiction. Like that has nothing to do with you personally. There's nothing wrong with you personally, or nothing wrong with me personally, or anything like that. That is literally just from the colony. And we have to see those mental differences, those emotional hardships as that, because if you see it as like something wrong with you, then that makes it so much harder to fight. Yes. It really does. And we have to really we have to put the blame where it belongs. Right. And I just wanted to say that because I don't think that we talk about it enough, both in Black Hammer or around the world. Right. Like we don't talk about the struggles of depression and anxiety, and especially with the pandemic. Like it's a struggle. It's a struggle to, be separated from your family, be separated from your friends, like those things being broken because of the jab mandates and things. Right. Like all of those things are triggers, right? Like can trigger depression episodes. So like we have to continue to see like, yes, this is hard for me, but also it's hard for a lot of people around the world. And we have to continue to push forward so that we can actually get to the root of the contradiction, which is colonialism.
Exactly. Black Hammer, we use our 4 principles too to help us understand, why we are experiencing what we're experiencing, right? And as a way to heal like any mental health, trial that we're going through. And colonized people just in general don't talk about mental health enough, right? And that's something that is like across colonizations, and that's because we don't always get the opportunity to process the system they're in, because we have to do stuff to survive in it, and so we don't just even have the time a lot of times as colonized people in general. But in the revolution, you do. G, any final words on this?
Yeah, I mean, y'all laid it out. I think the most important part to point out is that the colony teaches you that the way to get over or to overturn your depression or your mental health contradictions is through just going through like therapy, your own self-care and everything. But that is really not the case. You know what I mean? Like they just get you in some sort of loophole of like not making any progress and becoming individualistic and selling out at some point, right? Like it's all part of that system. Whereas, you know, through revolution, through understanding that our pain is collective, rather like the pain of our ancestors, the pain of our people today, right, affects all of us, right? And we have to, the only way to overturn that is through liberation, through revolution, right?
Yes.
And not through all this like self-care BS ideology that the colonists put on you.
Yes.
Yeah, land
back. Yeah, no, exactly. We have to, you know, we have to work outside the colony to deal with these problems and with a collective to solve these problems. Self-care ain't it? It's not like, oh, self-care, like me, I got my spa day. Like it's not just about you working on you. It's about finding your life through others, right? And finding your purpose and your future through others. Because it's the only way that the whole collective is gonna survive. And you as well, as an individual. Land back. Make sure you are still liking, sharing, and subscribing. Make sure you put hashtag shared when you shared it if you haven't done that yet, so that we know you're putting this out here. And let's hope our next video goes for our next topic. This is a big one in the news now.
Today, U.S. help is on the way as the first shipments of 200,000 pounds of lethal American military aid arrived in Ukraine overnight, backing up a country bracing for war. In Kharkiv, near Ukraine's border with Russia, the tension is palpable.
Like on the edge of something very terrible and scary.
If someone tries to take our freedom again, we will fight back.
Just over the border, more than 100,000 Russian troops are practicing, ready to invade Ukraine. This weekend, President Joe Biden huddling with security advisors at Camp David after top Russian and American diplomats met in Geneva Friday, scrambling to stop a war. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken held hasty negotiations with his Russian counterpart.
If Russia wants to begin to convince the world that it has no aggressive intent toward Ukraine, a very good place to start would be by de-escalating.
Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov pressing Russia's core demand that Ukraine never be allowed to join NATO, the military alliance meant to defend against Russian expansion. The Russians say Europe and the U.S. are the aggressors. Our concerns are not about imaginary, but about real threats and facts that nobody's really hiding. Stuffing Ukraine with weapons, sending hundreds of Western military instructors, said Lavrov. Both sides agreed to keep talking, even as military equipment keeps flowing in. Russia sending fighter jets to Belarus, near Ukraine's capital, Kiev. A rivalry reminiscent of the Cold War that could soon turn very hot. Guys, there's a big problem for the White House. Even as they're trying to keep Russia at bay, they're still trying to manage expectations. I know the Biden administration has already kind of tied their own hands by announcing they won't be sending U.S. troops to defend Ukraine. So even if this diplomacy fails, even if there is war, it's going to be very difficult for them to put pay to any threats that they actually make against Russia. Guys?
All right, Matt Bradley, thank you. Escalate.
All right. We get into that international politics, y'all. So we've been knowing Ukraine been acting up with Russia for a while now. That's been a whole theme in the 2010s. And basically, you know, there's two contingents in Ukraine. There's the ones who want to be with the European Union, associated with Europe, and incorporated into the European economy, right? And
through NATO, right?
Yeah, through NATO, through the European Union, right? And so that's one contingent. And there's the other contingent is like, no, like we're associated with Russia. And there's been like this whole domino fall of all these Baltic countries like becoming more European and being more integrated in the economy, like Slovakia, the Czech Republic, all those kind of, those places. And so Ukraine, though, is a major one because Poland became European because it's associated with enough, but it's still closer to Western Europe. But Ukraine is on the border of Russia. So Russia is not gonna let the United States or any other country set up shop next door,
Mhm.
you know, and a lot of countries in Europe depend on Russian gas as well. So there's a lot of material interest at play here, and there's like a political strategy interest here. Like, you know, like does NATO and like basically all of Russia's enemies, are they going to be allowed to set up shop right next door in Ukraine? You know, and so this is like probably like the biggest like possible European war since World War II. You know, that's about to happen. And of course they're saying we're not going to send troops now, but I don't know. I think that's a yet. I think they will send U.S. troops. I think that because they've been talking about it. They said they're very likely. Like I saw somewhere else that they were going to send like 50,000 troops possibly. And yeah, it's going to be, you know, it's going to be another show of, you know, the United States trying to get its footprint all over the world still and steal resources anywhere. And you know, Russia ain't gonna have it. So Russia, do your thing. Ryan, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I didn't really know. I didn't really grow up or know too much about this, so appreciate the background.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I definitely have been hearing a lot about this like recently, the past like few months about how Russia's been, you know, doing things, and or you know supposedly doing things. It sounds like to me like they're just trying to protect themselves, like because it sounds like if Ukraine has been showing alliance right with NATO, with whoever else, right, with these other like these other whites, then why wouldn't Russia be like, hey, like what are you doing? Okay, I'm gonna make sure that my like. It's not like they've actually actively done anything to the Ukraine land or like the Ukraine people.
Well, according to them, maybe, you know.
Okay, but either way, like it doesn't seem like they're actually doing anything. So I'm like, why? And also, honestly, as a colonized person, I'm like, go ahead. Like that's y'all's business. If anything, this is probably honestly, I think that you know what this is. I think this is the U.S. trying to find a war. Because war means money.
Yep.
War means boosting the economy. So it's looking for anything. It's looking for the scraps at the bottom of the bowl, or possibly not the bottom of the bowl, but on the floor, because it really is just looking for something to push like resources, like to call like a call for resources, so that the people will actually like you know work right and go back to work and things like that, for the sake of you know protecting other people or whatever, right? Like the U.S. always claims. So I don't know. Yeah.
And people are desperate. You know, these countries, these nations in Europe are desperate because they've been crumbling under the pandemic.
Yeah.
Right. And so that they're hungry for resources and are hungry to protect the resources that they have been stealing from other places. And you know, Ukraine is another step into securing those resources. You know, so. That, you know, that's a big reason why they really, really want it.
Yeah, and I've also been hearing that there's been a lot of uprisings in all throughout Europe around the mandates.
Yep.
So that's also definitely another thing to like, you know, say, oh, there's a war over here, so we're gonna send troops to help support that, but they're actually supporting like the crushing of these mandates. You know, I don't know. They're just some theories.
It's a lot of instability in Europe.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Landback. I don't like what happens to colonized people when the whites get mad.
Yeah.
You know, like it right now, yeah, they're taking it out on themselves. But even then, right, like because I also think it's the U.S. isn't sending troops yet.
Yeah.
I do think that because they're sending everything else, right? They're sending supplies. They're sending
weapons,
literal war weapons. In a time when they laughed at the idea of sending masks and tests to people, right? Literally on a press conference, laughed at the idea of providing like Rona tests and masks to everyone in the country, right? But they can send millions and millions of dollars in war weapons to a situation where they have no intention of getting involved in, which makes absolutely no sense. But even then, like, what that's going to mean is the recruitment is going to go up here, and they always target colonized children.
Yep.
Probably most of their active troops are colonized.
Yep.
You know, like a bunch of people I went to school with, a bunch of like I even have family members who are serving, because
Mhm.
They needed purpose. They needed stability. They needed like duty, right?
Mhm.
And like all I'm saying, like war like this, it is gonna be a split.
Yeah.
Not only for like them over there, like the Ukraine and Russia, right? But I mean, I feel like Russia's gonna stay united
Yes.
because they have their people's interests in mind. But like for the rest of Europe, right? Like yes, there are people already fighting the mandates. People are not happy with the leaders of the world. So I don't think that they're gonna get the support that they're looking for a war, right?
Mhm.
And you know what that means.
Mhm.
That's just priming our stage. Yeah, that's like it's
Exactly.
gonna be priming our stage, and it's gonna be opening people's eyes to just how nonsensical this whole system is, right?
Mhm.
And again, people do need a sense of duty and they need discipline, and you can also find that in the revolution,
Mhm.
which will build for yourself.
Yeah.
Right, like these people, it's not actually like a war of countries, right?
Yeah.
Of the people, it's leaders being pissed off.
Mhm.
Right? Like who wants the most power? Who wants the most resources? Like it has nothing to do with the actual citizens of these countries. And once the citizens of these countries fight for what they want and what they believe in, which is just literally living peacefully and
Mhm.
happy.
Yeah, they want to just live peacefully too.
Mhm.
They can do it without our stuff.
Mhm.
Exactly. Yeah, that's another thing. Keep it, mind your own business.
Mhm.
Like stay in your lane.
Mhm.
You know, like let Europe be Europe. Let Europe do Europe. Stay out of our shiznit. Like get your hands off our things and our people, and that's that. Like fight amongst yourselves and leave us out of it.
Exactly. I like these two comments from F. Joe Biden. It's like, I'm with whatever side that doesn't allow NATO to further come into Asia, right? Like, again, there's a political strategy point. It's like getting closer to Russia, getting closer to Asia, right?
Yep.
And then people should be asking why the U.S. is engaging in war when there's already supply shortages, economic crisis, and plagues internally to deal with. Yes, that won't make anyone popular. As they might, the Democrats and the liberals might think, oh, like an anti-Russia campaign because everyone wants to, eat up the propaganda of Russia stealing elections, right? That are messing with elections, right? Because such fake news. That the Democrats want everyone to eat up that propaganda, so they're like, oh, a war involving Russia, that should get people hyped up and liking Joe Biden. No, people are starving, people are hungry, people are dying. They don't want that. It's not going to get them hyped up. This is not 1942 no more, Joe Biden. Right? This is like what you were around for, I believe.
You forgot.
Yeah, you forgot. This isn't like post World War II, 1950s, happy-go-lucky American patriotism. This is America's crumbling and dying, and everyone's starving. This country is not doing what it needs to do for me or any one time. All right, and so like a war is not going to, with Russia especially, is not going to make anyone excited about the U.S. Trust that. GG, go ahead.
Period. Like y'all laid it out. This should serve as as an eye opener for our people here, right? Like as an example that whatever the Democrats want to do, whatever the establishment want to do is in their interest. Whatever all these other like powerful like white nations want to do is in their interest, right? And what we gotta do is fight for our own, right? Fight and see that they are not serving us at all. They are not addressing these issues here at all. And that's been the history of this country for so long, right? Like since they've been in power, right? Like all they want to do is try to be like all petty and involved in the international politics and ignore what's going on here, right?
Yeah.
So we gotta organize ourselves. We gotta build our own power here, right? Our own self-determination. That's the only way forward.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. We have to build our own self-determination, and like even connected with something what the comments say, like keep our people away from these wars because we have our own war to fight for our own liberation.
Serious.
In Chicago has 6 public high schools for different branches of the military. The public high schools that you can go to in Chicago, where are mostly like 99% colonized. That there's Phoenix Military Academy, there's Carver Military. There's Bronzeville Military. There's Rickover Naval, Marine Academy, and the Air Force Academy. Right?
Y'all see how he just knows this?
This is what you do on a regular basis. This is dropping random facts.
This is not pre-research, just off the dome.
Yeah, that's just off the dome. I was a teacher. I know the schools. But yeah, those are all our military high schools. There might be more. But those are public schools, and so they're actively recruiting and training kids from 13 and 14 in Chicago to join the military, right, and get into these wars when they got their own war to deal with on the streets or at home or with their people and their nation against like colonialism. And so, we got to get our people away from it. Yes, land back. Let's get into our next topic.
And pastor and his wife are under investigation by local and state authorities after fire responders discovered elderly people locked inside the basement of their home. As Fox 5's Doug Evans reports, that pastor is charged with false imprisonment as the investigation continues.
From outward appearances, everything seems perfectly normal at this Griffin home on Valley Road. Neighbors tell Fox 5 the house had unusually large amounts of trash to pick up, but everything else appeared okay.
Things seemed generally fine. Have not noticed anything, like I said, other than the trash.
Griffin police say they've arrested Curtis Bankston, the homeowner, who they say is a local pastor at a church called One Step of Faith Second Chance. He's accused of false imprisonment. First responders were called to the home last Thursday because of a person having a seizure. EMS says they discovered 8 individuals locked in the basement against their will in what state investigators now say was an unlicensed care home. Police say Bankston and his wife had control of the individual's finances and medications. State investigators have been called in because of what police deemed neglect and abuse that they say was both frightening and disgusting. Apparently, the residents weren't always locked in. Kim Brooks says she recently assisted one of them.
The individual that was lost was an elderly man, and he was on a walker, pushing a walker, and so he's trying to manage, and it's at night, so he's trying to manage being able to see where he's going, and the streets can get kind of dark, and so I just used my flashlight and we just walked together down to the house and I showed him where it was.
No charges have been filed against the pastor's wife. Police say the investigation is continuing. In Griffin, Doug Evans, Fox 5 News.
Oh my God.
Waka Kame and I looked at each other real quick because Waka was like, "Isn't that Tyler Perry?" And I'm like, "Yes." So if you have watched on Netflix A Fall from Grace, put that in the comments if you know what we're talking about. A Fall from Grace on Netflix. It's the movie in real life, y'all, and in Georgia. In Georgia, y'all. So either they saw the movie and said, "You know what, we could do this too," or
Tyler Perry stays inspired.
Yeah, Tyler Perry. See, this is what happens when you have sell out African colonized people giving us stories, because they don't give us stories of revolution. So no one's like, I think I could go do that and go do revolution. No, we get stories of locking elderly people in basements and stealing their money. So some people are like, I think I can do that. And like, you see how they get to our people's minds? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So yeah, that's wild, y'all. So yeah, 8 people locked up in the basement. Damn. And this pastor and his wife allegedly, right, were stealing their money. They were getting their benefits and like kept them locked up in the basement, y'all. It is literally a fall from grace, which is already, that's a fall from grace. That's one part of the movie. There's more to it, but yes, bad wigs are also part of that movie. But yeah, no, it's terrifying, y'all, to like see colonized people do it to probably other colonized people. You know, that's probably most likely what's going on, because it'd be real hard for 2 African people to essentially held hostage and kidnap a bunch of white people for a long amount of time. But maybe not. I don't know. So, but most likely they were probably colonized people too. Yeah. And this is the horizontal violence that we do to each other for like these like crumbs and stuff when people are struggling. But I'm not sure how much they were struggling. But like it's just that people are driven to do the worst things under the system to their own people. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Chi, you said wow. So go ahead. What are you thinking?
Oh my God, it's just
nice and loud.
I just didn't even know what to say. Like, I did not know like someone would do this kind of thing. But at the end of the day, right, like the colony teaches like our people to do the wildest things through its propaganda. Since like they teach you to change your own bag in whatever ways, right? And like that in addition to putting our people in like certain conditions where they cannot have a good life, right? Like they're gonna do whatever they gotta do to survive, and they end up doing stuff like this. You know what I mean? And yeah, like, yeah, I don't even know. I hope they were white people.
Yeah.
but yeah, you don't even know. It's Georgia, you know, like when they colonize people there, and yeah, like, you know, horizontal violence gotta stop. Horizontal violence gotta stop. Like, and the only way it's gotta stop is through us, right? Like through us educating our people that there's other ways to have a good life, right? There's other ways where we don't have to fight each other. We gotta be united, right? Yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, they're a little dumbfounded right now. Ben, I want to go to you next because this comment reminded me of something that you said earlier when we were talking about it. So, as Joe Biden says, this is wild. I'm wondering if these people were genuinely trying to help our elderly and got in trouble.
Yes, that's what I was saying. Okay, listen. So I watched, you know, that clip earlier today, or like just an hour before the show, and I was like, listen, you know, if these are like, I don't know if they're related, I don't know if maybe they're friends, I don't know. I want to give our colonized people like the benefit of the doubt. I know that, you know, horizontal violence is definitely very, very real, and everything. But yeah, this one I was like, what? Like, I've never seen the movie, so I was like, wait, this it seems a little wild to me. So, but no, I mean, it makes sense. Like, I feel like I have heard generally of like one person being held, right, but not like a group of people. Like, I feel like that's very difficult to do, right? Like, it's very difficult to have 8 elderly without any family, without any friends, without any of that, right? Because somebody would have to look. And like the lady said, I mean, I don't really trust her, you know, whatever.
The neighbor,
she
the hero with the flashlight.
Yeah. But like, yeah, she was saying that this guy, that one of them was like walking around with it. Maybe I don't know, because what the government was like maybe trying to escape. That honestly really could be true. Who knows? I want to know more. That's all I gotta say. I feel like I can't say you know, one way or another, but it is true. Our people are pushed, especially right now, especially with the pandemic, right? Our people are pushed to, you know, desperate actions to just try to like survive. So, but yeah, I do want to give him benefit of the doubt until I get some more information.
We'll see. You know, the old man walking down the street that, you know, got brought back is basically Cicely Tyson, you know, in that movie. You know, there's literally a scene that's exactly like that.
It really.
Yeah.
I mean, y'all already said my 2 only cohesive thoughts, which was, isn't that a Tyler Perry movie? And maybe he was trying to escape homegirl. Like how she's like, yo, I saw this elderly man on a walker walking at night. Did you ask questions? Like, did you just let him back to the house?
Let him back to
oh my god, to captivity. To captivity. Oh my god, maybe she's getting a cut of the pay.
Oh yeah.
God, here's the thing. I would love to give benefit of the doubt, right? It is weird that it's been written before. That's weird to me.
Yeah.
And I want to be clear, I did not watch it of my own choice. I want to be clear, I did not choose to watch that movie.
Me too.
I was bullied into it. But yeah, like for me, that's the part that like really it makes it hard to give him the benefit of the doubt, right? Is that he was getting their benefits. You know, that like he was cashing their benefits and stuff like that. Like that's the part that's weird, and the fact that they were locked in the basement.
Yeah.
Like they found them locked in the I don't know how you like so like you're very kind, but I don't know.
Yeah.
They're locked in the basement. I don't know. And like I don't think it's that hard to believe that he could do this because he was a pastor.
True.
You know, like we've seen also through generations how people like bastardize faith to do malicious things.
Yep.
And like for elderly people to trust a pastor, that's not crazy to believe. As you know, especially like elderly people, because they have such a strong faith. And like you do trust your pastor, right? Because like your pastor is your shepherd, right? Who leads you through the field of whatever life and to Jesus or whatever, metaphors and stuff. But so yeah, that's not crazy for me to believe. It's just really sad. And I want to know what's up with the wife.
Yeah, I know. I thought she got charged, and then they said she wasn't facing charges. I was like, oh.
Do you think she pulled like Pablo Escobar's wife and was like, well, that's
what's happening? Yeah. Like what? Where am I? Just like waking up, all of a sudden.
And then she's like, he was doing what?
Yeah.
I don't go down the stairs.
Yeah, I never went to the basement.
What was the name of the church again? Because I thought that was
it was
that
like
kind of funny too.
One Good Life. What was it?
Like one something, but it's basically like new chance, like starting over.
Yeah, I'm like, that's funny for someone who's doing things
Yeah.
like that. Like,
I wonder. Yeah, it's wild. It's wild.
Yeah. But our people, again, like we said, desperate things. But what we do is, address that horizontal violence by politically educating our people, and of course, the political education and the work don't work, changing people's minds, and something else might have to happen. But that's a last resort. We want all our people to be free and liberated.
But to be clear, there are some things that we don't care about hearing about.
Oh yeah, that is true.
There are things.
That is true. All right, let's get into our final topic of the night.
I can't even.
Oh yeah, my title for this one.
30 state lawmakers are considering a bill that would ban the teaching of gender identity and sexuality in schools.
It passed the State House Committee just last week in a vote, as West 2's Kelsey Thorne reports on how this is going to impact the LGBTQ community.
Members, by your vote, House Bill 1557 will be reported favorably. Congratulations.
A Florida House committee voted this week to move forward with a bill that supporters say would give parents more control over their child's education, but critics say would discriminate against LGBTQ students and families.
This is about the fundamental right of parents to have insight and control of what's going on in their children's life.
Conversations about the LGBTQ community are not dangerous.
House Bill 1557 looks to prohibit school districts from withholding certain information from parents regarding their child's mental, emotional, or physical well-being. It also looks to ban schools from encouraging classroom discussion about sexual orientation or gender identity. The bill's sponsor, State Representative Joe Harding, says those conversations should be left to parents.
What we don't want is the school district to try to take on the role of being the parent, because they're not.
But LGBTQ advocates say banning discussion of sexual orientation and gender identity would harm those who identify as LGBTQ.
It's designed to further isolate LGBTQ kids who desperately need our support. And ultimately, it's designed to make teachers fearful to create inclusive school environments.
The bill would give parents the power to sue districts who violate that rule.
It's not the job of the school district to raise the child. It's the job of the parent in these extremely sensitive conversations.
But critics like State Representative Carlos Guillermo Smith say all this bill does is target LGBTQ people.
Which is wrong, it's stigmatizing, and it's also bigoted.
The bill still has several stages to go through before potentially becoming law. If passed through the legislature and then signed by the governor, it would become law this summer. Kelsey Thorne, WESH 2 News.
That Carlos was a flaming homosexual. A flaming Floridian homosexual. Oh, goodness gracious. So, yeah, this ain't no homo. I mean, that's not a thing anymore. Do people still say that?
No, that's a joke.
Yeah. It's a joke? Oh, man. It was a joke when I was young. It was also like a serious joke, like,
sorry. I just read Virgil's comment. Since you don't talk about it, the oranges goes away like God intended.
Exactly, Virgil, right? That's what Florida's hoping. If we just stay quiet, then God's intention of everyone remaining celibate and pure remains. But that, again, this is similar laws. Like this is not nothing new here in the United States, right? Like, don't talk about gay stuff. And of course, the liberals love this. They eat this up. Like when this kind of stuff happens, they're like, go, because they're out there with some money. Yeah, they're about to get some new jobs. They're about to start some new nonprofits and get new grants. Like they run to these things. And one of the other flaming homosexuals said something about like they need our support. Like they don't need that support. What they need is revolution.
Yeah.
Because the world that says that they can't be who they are and that they can't talk about who they are is a world that ought to be overturned. It's not gonna be overturned by some laws or politicians or liberals or Democrats. None of them. It's gonna be overturned by people who take it into their own hands. You could be a flaming homosexual and still carry the 9. So
Let the gays fight.
yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That should be.
Yeah, you know who the best fighters are for real.
Exactly.
So yes, no. So yeah, this law ain't gonna change much. It's already like that. They don't need a law for it to happen, But it's also just last thing. It's also just annoying because again, people say it all the time. It's not like because they're saying like, oh, we have to not talk about it in primary school and stuff like that. Well, it's like you don't talk about straight stuff in primary school, but they like that explicitly, right? But they do it all the time, right?
Yep.
It's just just same old. But we don't need liberal solutions to this anymore. So Watakame.
Yeah, it was so funny because when that person started talking, like instinctively, this is really. I want to know what classrooms are openly talking about this in the first place.
Yeah,
like it's already an issue that kids don't have a space to talk about it, right? And yeah, like I hate how people, like kids, just being who they are, gets turned into this identity politic BS. Where like they want to referee the discussion of identity.
Yeah.
But because liberals also want you to not only find your identity, but to live on that identity.
Yeah.
And to like have that identity dictate your entire life.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because if you check all of these boxes, here's the paths you're allowed to take to like be valid or whatever.
Yeah. Here's your path to your grant.
Exactly. And like, okay, to be fair, I did work for a nonprofit, and I did receive a grant, but I was a sex health and safety educator, right? And what was different was that it was outside of public schools, because I grew up and I lived for the most of my life in a what is it called, abstinence only state.
Oh yeah.
Where like sex ed is you only teach abstinence.
Yeah.
Like you talk about like, oh, what is pregnancy like medically, right? Like sex, like hetero sex, scientifically, but they push abstinence.
Yeah.
Where they don't teach you how to have safe sex, right? And so this grant that I was a part of and this program that I was a part of, it pushed to talk not only about how to have like safe hetero sex, but also like all the types of sex, and safety, not only physically but emotionally and mentally safe, and how to like prepare yourself in your life or whatever, right? And it does sound very liberal. It was a very liberal program, but to me it was just sex ed, like the way sex ed should be, right? Because like they also try to like. Liberals are so funny because they're like, sex isn't this like box thing, but they do it all the time.
Exactly.
They do it all the time. Like people can't just be people, right? Like liberals want people, kids in this case, to identify as gay, straight, bi, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Like non-binary, trans, like they want that because they can market off of that, and they can target people off of that. Like we're not allowed to just be people.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Like you have to choose one. And that part I hate that part. Like you can just and that's why this shit happens. But yeah, and it's really funny because it's like, oh, it's not the school's job to raise your kids. It's so funny because it's like, no, it's not, but it is a school's job to educate about the world. Like, and no one's telling you what to believe, they're just telling you what is, right? Well, they're supposed to. Schools, they act like school works anyway. But yeah, anyway, that.
No, yeah, exactly, right. Like a couple of these comments, like libs use identity as another excuse to promote selfishness and subjectivity.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's very true, Virgil. Right? Yes, exactly. Like it's like a subjectivity toward the self mostly, not even toward people and identity, right? And people in their Twitter bios. This is something that when I was young was not a thing. Put Twitter bio like, I'm queer. I'm a queer, disabled, gender queer, blah 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 blah.
And you're only supposed to get along with people that check the same boxes as you.
Oh really?
Like I learned that like before I found Revolution, and I was like trying to talk to people or whatever. Like if you identify as whatever, if you are friends with or talk to or tolerate people who are not that, specifically straight people, right? Or cis het people. Oh my God. If you are not cis het and you even tolerate cis het people, you're the enemy.
Yeah.
And you're a traitor.
You're like dirty.
Yeah, and it's like, oh my God, how could you? Like it's so dumb. It's that divisionism so hard.
Exactly.
Like we need to overturn that so that we can anyway.
Yeah, that's against a second principle of unity, which says that all common people are equal regardless of sexuality, gender, all that.
Yeah, I'm back. Actually, part of what you said was what I was going to talk about, which was like that the school, said, or like I don't know who that guy was, but they got one guy who said like, oh, the districts aren't supposed to be the parent, but that's what ends up happening anyway. Like parents you send kids to school for 8 hours a day, and you think that you're not going to be a parent of some sorts if you're spending that much time with kids. Like it ends up happening either way. Like you end up you're educating. So, and that's what parents do as well. They educate and they help mold, right? Like they have an influence. So like either way, like that was the one comment that I was like, that doesn't make sense. Like teachers end up being, I know I've had many teachers that like I end up being friends with on Facebook, end up being like friends with, and like following up with, right? Like for years afterwards because of like the influence that they had on me or because they believed in me, right? As like a colonized kid in a mostly white school. Yeah, right. But yeah, it was just like, oh God, but, yeah, that comment just was like, that makes no sense. That happens regardless, whether or not this law is passed or not. But what was the other part of the bill that they kind of just like skated over about the school not having, or like the districts not having to give the parents like vital information, like their mental health, their physical health. I was like, that seems very important, very important detail to just kind of be like, oh, but the identity politics. Like I didn't quite catch it. I don't know if you did, but I was like, that seems very, very important.
Yeah.
So
no. I mean, they're just basically saying that everything that actually has to do with the development of a child, whatever, they'll skim over and throw that away. But focus on the over, like making like the promiscuity, that they try to put, like someone said, on our children. Like focus on that, and like again, like what liberals and like these useless politicians do is that they create the very thing that doesn't exist necessarily, that they want gone, right? Like the more that they push against it, Florida is a very gay place. I wonder why, because of stuff like this. Florida and all over the United States has a lot of revolutionary potential. Why? Because they create the conditions for it. Why does Utah, Mississippi got high instances of teen pregnancy? Because of pushing and STDs, because of pushing abstinence only, right? They keep pushing against the thing that, and then it creates more. And they're never gonna learn because they stupid. But that's what they do to our kids. And like, our school system is not the place to get reading on their mental health still or their physical health. It's still a bad place for that. But we can get them into revolution and get them into revolutionary education and revolutionary health so that we can measure that correctly, and just let kids be kids and, be who they are, and not center around like sexuality as in like sex, as like they try to, do it, the liberals and all of that. It's gross and messed up.
I am done with liberals, with all these liberals. I'm done. Like I also don't want like like my little siblings, like I don't want none of our kids, our people, like learning from them, because like what they do is like they make their identity like all of them, all that they should be caring about.
Yep.
Like they grasp them onto that, right? And they make it a whole life. You know, they start with it in high school. Oh, you should volunteer for this like little club, this little like nonprofit, and then they end up being some like sellout that goes to like that. You know, that Washington D.C. Harvard type like sellout. You know, like that all they care about is policy. And like, you know what I mean? It's like that type of gay. No.
She does not want to be that type of gay.
Like, at the end of the day, right? Like gender and sexuality were very simple subjects for our people, right? Like before colonialism, they were very simple things. They just move on, right? Like the main objective of our lives, right? Having a harmonious society with nature and our people, and not care about all these non-issues like they were saying in the comments, right? Like caring about all these made up stuff that is just to get people on their side. That's all it really is. They're using people's like just normal lives. Like it's just it's not that big of a deal. Like you gay, you whatever, right? Like whatever gender it is, like it's just your life. Move on. Come to revolution, and then we'll have a society in which it's not that big of a deal, right? Where we don't have to be spending all this time like arguing with each other in some like Congress place about it. Like,
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I agree with that.
The conversation used to be cool.
Yeah,
exactly.
So what's for dinner?
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like F. Joe Biden said, right? Like kids in America can't do basic math, but y'all want to teach gender and sexuality. Like that's so true. Listen, y'all. When I was in my sex ed class, I've learned more from this person right here than I did in all of my sex ed classes. Okay, like I don't know what they were trying to teach me, but
I've known them for less than a year.
Yes, less than a year. Okay, and yeah, like I learned more about my menstruation cycle or whatever, like how to drink certain teas to help with cramps. Like I learned more about that stuff than this. So. Sometimes we gotta like everything else, right? Like colonized people are always roughing and toughing it, and that doesn't change. Like whether or not they are teaching this in schools, if anything, it's gonna make it harder. Like they're just trying to put this like bubble of like, oh, you're gonna be protected if you learn about it in school. And I feel like no,
more harm.
It's gonna be more harm. Yes, exactly. Like I feel like that's what this is like the liberals like being like, oh, you can be a kid a little bit longer until they hit the harsh reality of the world. Like, because the harsh reality of the world is there is going to be, whatever, like under colonialism, right? There's going to be people who hate whatever they're gay, like hate gays or whatever, right? And it doesn't matter. Like, none of that really matters at the end. So, like, whether or not you teach it in school,
like these programs, y'all, this is how they start. So the program that I had to like take classes for or whatever, I did not follow the curriculum at all. I took the stuff, but it literally starts with, here are all the different types of attacks you're gonna suffer if you like identifies all these things. Sorry. And it was like chapter 1. It was like, here are all the different hate crimes.
Yeah, it's chapter 1, hate crimes.
It was wild, and I was like, we're gonna skip that part. But yeah.
See Virgil's comment.
I like Virgil's comment. Says the more you try to strap the people's poom poom down, the more and harder we're gonna pop it. Yes. Yes, exactly. Yes. That's exactly right, Virgil. They can't hold the people's poom poom back. Which, if you've been in Black Hammer long enough, you also know what I mean. Ain't that right?
Sophia.
Our comrade Sophie.
Our comrade Sophie.
F. Joe Biden.
So yes, head back. Let's get into our announcements. But of course, donate to Black Hammer Shy on Cash App and Shy Hammers on Venmo, so we can continue making sure people are prepared for winter. All right. So thank you earlier for Thai Senegal for that donation. But yeah, keep on coming, y'all. But yes, this Sunday and every Sunday we have the Revolutionary Church. And you can watch it online on this very YouTube page, Black Hammer TV. So make sure you tune in every Sunday for the Atlanta chapter's Revolutionary Church. All right. And then, of course, we're going to drop these charges on our hammers. Call the Atlanta City Solicitor's Office at 404-658-6618, extension 5, so that we can, get these charges and let them know that we're not going to stand for arrest for just feeding and clothing the homeless. All right. So, man, back. And then this Sunday, you probably saw it. Yes, yesterday, last night. Feels like I was 5 days ago already. But yes, next Sunday, January 30th at 8 p.m. Eastern, we have the Revolutionary Book Chapter, and we're reading
Open Veins, Latin America.
Oh my God, I felt like a teacher right there.
I felt like a student. I was like, well, I know. That's where I was paying attention.
A little bit of trauma there, y'all, because that's my life of a teacher being like, and then like Open Veins, Latin America.
I think I said it like that too.
So yeah, we're reading Open Veins, Latin America. Yeah, School the Colony. Pages 59 to 83, the beginning of chapter 2. So make sure you read. You can go to blackhammer.org/library to get the book, and you can watch the book trap on this YouTube page or Black Hammer Facebook page.
And who are our hosts?
Oh, and our hosts, yes, are me and Watakame. So make sure you tune in to get more of us and our bubbly, cute, beautiful selves.
Twice a week.
Twice a week. And then Thursday, February 3rd at 8 p.m. Eastern, we have Black Hammer's 3rd birthday bash. It's Black Hammer's 3rd birthday toddler stage. All right, we walking, no more crawling. We walking and we basically running. Babies run real fast.
Yeah, they do.
And yes, you can register for it at tinyurl.com/BHBday. And yes, there's going to be a webinar. It's a webinar showcasing our best years serving people. You're going to see examples of everything that we've done, our chapters all around the world, see the impact of our work across the world as well. And then also stay tuned because we'll be also announcing our new name.
What?
Our new name on the birthday party.
We can talk.
Yeah, I missed that yesterday. I was so confused when I saw that on the flyer. I was like, wait, what? What?
Yes. Stay tuned, y'all. You don't want to miss it. You want that tea. We know you watching.
Even y'all.
Yes, even y'all. We know you watching. So yes, tune in for our birthday. Register tinyurl.com/BHBday. All right. But laying back, yes, that I believe, that's all of our announcements. If you haven't shared, continue to share. It's okay if the live is over. But yes, we will see you next Monday for the Vanguard with more of our topics, more of the news that is here, and making it, anti-colonial and revolutionary, like always. So everyone, make sure you stay safe and land back.